Now, my next question was this: a lot of times we have, I guess, disagreements or different perspectives about the transatlantic slave trade. I wanted to know what was your perspective on that. Like, do you feel like are the numbers correct? I was watching the old video, for instance, and it was Dr. Clark on there, and he was like, it was tens of millions, and Dr. Ben backed him up. He said it was tens of millions, but you have some people that feel like that didn't happen at all, and they discount it. So I just wanted to know what was your perspective on Africans being taken from Africa and brought to America as slaves.
My concept is they're all right. They are all correct. They were the first human beings to come to the American continent were the Twa and Mbuti. There were 5 that we have counted so far scientifically migrations to the American continent: North, South, Central, and the Caribbean. And the first 3 were clearly pigment-wise, culture-wise African. The next 2 basically were somewhat Asian, if we want to call it that. You had the Paleo-American or the Twa and Mbuti, you had the Clovis Folsom, and you had the Algonquin, all African. Varying forms, different times they came in waves. Thousands of years separated these migrations. The next one was the Inuit, or who we call the Eskimo. And the final one was the Asian, who was invading the Mongol invasions of Asia. And they came down into Canada, Alaska, and North America. So that when you're looking at the different migrations, there are some of us that I am sure have the original Paleo-American blood in us, but also those who were stolen from Africa post-1492 are also here. So we have to understand the waves of Africans. So everybody's right. And I'm watching them argue over each other, and I'm saying, but you're all right. Yes,
right.
There is African blood that is the original human being, the Twa and Mbuti, that we have inherited, not just from the Africans that were here, but from Native Americans who inherited the African legacy when they came here. Cherokee, Choctaw, Arapaho, Apache, okay? They have black blood in them, but don't forget, there were black people here that don't look like the people that claim to be Native Americans. They look more like you and I.
Right.
Okay. But the wave of Africans that came post 1492 also happened, and Africans were enslaved. There is a history of that. And I think we're getting it twisted, and we're losing our African minds when we are historically off point by trying to make it seem like that enslavement didn't exist. It existed. It's just the way it is. That's history. But that's not to take away from the other waves of Africans that came. There were waves of Africans during the 1300s that left West Africa and came to America. But, the point to pick up from where we left off, brother, we have got to be very clear, even to the point that you speak about what do we call ourselves? What are we? Are we this? Are we that? The same is true is what happened to us as a people. I mean, did we come in the original years? I mean, there's evidence of Africans here that go back 100,000 years. There's evidence of a black woman in San Diego, California. Her bones dated 90 to 80,000 years ago.
Man.
So, we have to understand that we all have to sit down and share information. And instead of arguing with each other over who's right and who's wrong, let's put our information on the table and as a group come to a consensus of at least the science of what's going on and stop fighting amongst ourselves, particularly when some of us exhibit deep ignorance in terms of where we're coming from and why we're saying what it is that we're saying, because our children are watching us. And we must conduct ourselves in a way that they respect us. But we must act respectfully to get respect from them. And I believe we have to have open conversations and respect and love each other enough to let everybody's information go out there And don't put somebody down because they may not think like you.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So
Indeed.
that I think that in answer to both of your questions, what I'm trying to do is show the roundabout way that we can begin to look at ourselves and to be able to respond to ourselves in ways that it makes sense.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that kind of goes into my next question. I wanted to talk a little bit about the African presence in Asia. We had spoke a little bit about that, about the Africans that went into the Philippines, and they would call them Negritos, or
Yes.
the I forget what the other name was.
Yeah, I knew.
I knew, right.
Ainu is one of the names, particularly in Japan. But again, these are Twa and Mbuti people, short statured, maybe 3 foot
Same
8,
people.
same exact people. They peopled the planet. There was a time that the only people on the planet were the Twa and Mbuti people. There was nobody else on the planet but them. Wasn't no Europeans. There were no Asians. There was just a short statured Twa and Mbuti that came out of one of the final phases of the ascendancy of who we call Homo sapiens sapiens, the 6th level of the human form. And out of the end came this family, Twa and Mbuti Khoisan. And these individuals coming out of that began to intellectualize and began to think on higher levels about 120,000 years ago. And by about 100,000 years, they were all over the planet. Within 20,000 years, they had peopled the planet. And that's who you see from continent to continent.
All right. And these people are still there. I've been to the Philippines. I lived in South Africa. They still dark skin, brown skin, curly hair.
You've seen them?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You're saying that you've seen them, right?
Yes.
That's who they are. That's the original
Yeah.
people. They still amongst us. And there are African Americans that look like them.
Yeah.
I knew a brother was a martial artist. This brother was bad, but he was all of about 4'2". Perfectly proportioned, but this brother was good in martial arts. But he is who we would consider to be an African American.
Oh, wow.
He has the blood. I think Sammy Davis Jr. was Twa and Mbuti. When you look at a short-statured person, many times they have the blood of the Twa and Mbuti. That's just genetics, brother.